Here, my name is Steven Tsai. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Futures First Gaming. I'll let my guys introduce themselves as well.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Malcolm Coley. I am the CTO of Futures First Gaming, co-founded by me and my bros, Steven Tsai and my boy Nudie.
Awesome. My name is Nudie Felton. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of Futures First Gaming, along with Steven Tsai and Malcolm Coley.
Great. On behalf of Futures First Gaming, we just want to thank you for this opportunity to present information on our company and share what it is that we do in esports. I assume I can share screen, correct?
Yep, you should be able to.
Excellent. All right. So who is Futures First Gaming? We are an esports and STEM.org accredited education company that is focused on engaging youth and individuals in competitive and recreational gaming events. We foster an esports community, but most importantly, as an education company, our goal is to provide opportunities and pathways for our participants to explore education and career development pathways in science, technology, arts, entrepreneurship, math, and other esports disciplines. At our organization, we say that futures first start with gaming, and we believe that if we can position education in a fun way by utilizing gaming to attract a whole new audience, we can actually inspire them, discover their passions, and in our case, point them where there may be career opportunities tied to the esports and gaming industry. In our experience, I have a background in literacy education. I spent 7 years at the International Literacy Association and talked to a lot of educators, and often they expressed frustration with lack of educator and student input in curriculum. And so, often students are shepherded into career opportunities that they don't necessarily have an interest in. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but our goal is to provide a fun experience and ultimately, develop a workforce of the future to grow the esports industry in the region. We also recognize that there is lack of diversity in the esports industry. And so we have a particular focus, not an exclusive focus, but a deliberate focus on facilitating pathways for Black and Brown students to also get into the space, realize their true potential, and hopefully change their fortunes and change the world. Malcolm and Nudie, you guys want to share anything there?
So really, when we put this program together, we really were in a space where we were understanding the disparities with underserved youth in our neighborhoods, and we were really trying to be in a position to connect them and actually teach them the technology that they needed in order to thrive in other industries, such as a Microsoft or JP Morgan Chase, or, something where they could potentially be working in a private or even a public sector. Whereas, you might need to focus on, maybe a big data or, information analytics or just any IT settings, right? There's just, a huge disparity, especially now in the midst of COVID, where we're so super virtual and, just bringing our kids into this atmosphere of tech, and not even just kids. We also work with people who are in between the ages of 18 to 24 and beyond, right? We're just meeting the kids where they're at, right? When I say meeting the kids where they're at, they all play video games. So that's us developing this company really meets them where they're at.
Yeah, and it kind of piggyback off what Malcolm is saying, and Steven, the goal, 85% of our kids are playing video games, and they have no idea that there's a whole world out here that they can take advantage of. And by us meeting them where they're at, they get interested in the game, and then we say, hey, well, did you know through gaming you can do coding, you can do game design, you can do You could be a coach. There's so many different, it webs out to so many different things that they can get involved in. And by, us, giving them this platform, it gives them the opportunity to also get into the technology field where, we're very underserved in that arena as well. And it just allows us to teach them like entrepreneurship and various other things that they weren't currently exposed to.
So when we really, just kind of talking, touched on some of the problems, the esports and gaming industry overall in the region is sort of minuscule when compared to the global landscape. It's, this is a major industry, hundreds of billions of dollars globally through all different channels, through this industry. And, Philadelphia, obviously you guys are have invested in the Fusion Arena and, have an ecosystem. But when you look sort of in us being in Delaware and sort of the, Jersey, Delaware, sort of like Delmarva Valley belt, there wasn't a whole lot in the space. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was to grow the culture and put Delaware on the map, and, the Philadelphia region continue to grow in the esports landscape. Malcolm and Nudie, we touched on the fact that people of color are underrepresented in the industry. One of the other things that we've, talked about is with COVID, kids just can't be kids. They can't go outside. They can't play. And we've seen, an uptick in, just in terms of frustration, which spills over into, negative outreach. And so we also see how esports can divert some of that energy into a positive space. In our world, the University of Delaware actually has an esports team, which we're excited about, but there's no formal pipeline in the area to actually, to be able to get there. Most of their players have been recruited, from outside of the Delaware area and even internationally. And so, one of the things we want to do is, and we work with schools and community centers and even some universities to help them create esports teams and create a formal pipeline, which then provides opportunities for the students. And then, as I touched on a little bit, just it allows educators and students to have a little more choice in their and voice in their curriculum models. And so we also work with schools on how to overlay esports, to create a fun curriculum that's going to, that is really going to incentivize the students and, and to increase active engagement in a COVID environment in their virtual learning. As I stated, our target demographic is really ages 12 to 18, boys and girls. We definitely want to see girls who game, girls who code. We have some specific initiatives that we do that are tied to that, but we really want to see more grow the representation of color in the industry as well. We are proud of the fact that we are STEM.org accredited as an organization. Our program has been thoroughly reviewed, evaluated, and we achieved our certification not long after we launched. I think it was a few months, maybe about 3 or 4 months after we launched. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about that process, Mel?
Yeah, we were just really trying to be in a space where we could separate ourselves from other tech organizations, because when you talk about being STEM accredited in an educational sense, it's actually pretty difficult to go through that process and get all of the necessary paperwork and all the rigmarole that you just have to go through. So for us to be in a space where we were actually able to obtain this accreditation, we were actually just looked at across the board as a much, much, much more credible organization. Our curriculum much more credible, and it just helped us to be more relevant as we were able to push our Futures First program over to school districts and to other programs that wanted to utilize our services.
Yep. Some of our accomplishments as a first-year organization. So we launched in February of 2020, last year, like right before the pandemic really hit and impacted business. I was telling I think it was Natalie earlier, that we were scheduled to actually have an in-person event on March 14th, which was kind of our coming out party. But COVID put the brakes on that. But the beauty of the industry that we're in is we can leverage the internet and technology. And so we were able to pivot. We still had a March event, but it was all virtual and it was all online. And that was actually a blessing in disguise for us, because it forced us to leverage, the part of our business that we thought was going to be kind of secondary, and it's become, our primary, way to engage our students and to drive business. And so we were proud. We were nominated for Delaware Business of the Year through Technically Delaware last year. Unfortunately, we didn't take home the nod, but we were excited to be nominated. We had a big Pandemonium 2020 virtual con expo, which we'll really talk about that toward the end of the session. We had a back to school event where we partnered with the Venue and the Venue 2.0 and other organizations in the city of Wilmington, and through a back to school event for kids where we had our gaming consoles. This was actually an in-person event. We had our gaming consoles. They had, you want to talk a little bit about that, Nudie? I know you were a heavy driver on that one. I don't want to, do it any disservice.
Yeah, no worries. So we had several organizations that partaked in that particular event. Where we gave away computers, book bags, school supplies. We had a ton of outdoor games because it was still COVID. We had the social distance, but we were able to use the outside, which was a pretty big area. We provided food. We had different vendors where they taught. Some kids who needed tutoring, they offered free tutoring outside of as school came about. They were able to utilize them and use their services for free. And it was a great event. The kids enjoyed it, and that was something for them to do before going back to school, and they haven't been able to kind of get out. So that was a really exciting event for us.
Another thing that we were really excited about that we were able to pull off last year was our first Futures First camp. And so we partnered with the Teen Warehouse, which is an organization in the city of Wilmington in the Riverside neighborhood. And it is an organization that is a community. It's a community center, but it's designed by teens for teens. They have a hand in all their programming, the way the building's laid out, the way things look. And so we actually partnered with, one of our coding providers, and we had a coding camp, which we'll share a little bit about. 4 weeks, the students engaged in coding, entrepreneurship, and structured gameplay over the course of 4 weeks. And we were really excited about that. We were able to push it through, and we're looking forward to doing more this year. I think there's maybe some questions in the chat. Oh no, just a shout out to Teen Warehouse. And then, we received our Twitch affiliate status last year, which we're really excited about. As a Twitch affiliate, we are now able to monetize our streams. And that's kind of one of our core focal topics when we talk to teens and to students about how they can, actually play video games, make money, and become entrepreneurs doing that. Not necessarily in the traditional sense of, going in these big tournaments and bringing home prize money, but just kind of doing what they do every single day, playing video games, streaming it out to the world, getting a following, and then monetizing that process and bringing home a little extra money. In some instances, a couple $100 here or there for a student could make a big difference in their home life. So really, that our Futures First program is a combination of coding and game design, entrepreneurship, and esports. And it really just leverages the popularity of the esports industry. Some researchers have suggested that esports is going to take over traditional sports in the next couple of years. I think in 2018, the League of Legends World Championship had over 200 million viewers, which was more than the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, and Game 7 of the World Series combined that year. And so, as Malcolm kind of touched on, if we can leverage a popular industry and meet the kids where they are, ultimately, you know, we can change the way that we integrate STEAM education and train up a whole new workforce. And so we use gaming as a carrot, and the learning that we provide, we say is the nugget. Just a little bit of a sample of how, let me go back. Our Futures First program, the camp laid out. We had, as I said, it was 4 weeks. We combined sort of 4 key components. So esports and gaming. The camp participants had 40 hours of open play, gaming, structured tournaments, team play, individual skills development, and coaching. We had an intro to web development course where we, you know, had instructors facilitate the coding principles and coding instruction, and even touched on some of the game design components like I think C# and Python a little bit, but I think HTML, CSS, and what was the other one?
JavaScript.
JavaScript. Yep. Thank you, Malcolm. And then obviously, you know, entrepreneurship, we really hit soup to nuts from, and we couldn't go in depth, but topically, everything from, you know, opportunities in esports to streaming 101 and how to monetize your stream, how to start a bank account, how to start a business, what type of business would you be looking at from a designation standpoint, a little bit of financial literacy. And then we wrapped up the camp with assigning students their own, their team-based project where they had to work together to put on their own esports tournament, recruit their friends to come play, host the tournament, produce the tournament, and they did a fantastic job. It was flawless. So we were really proud of them and excited. And you know, after the camp, everybody was happy with the camp. The students received certificates, and some of them even stated that they wanted to continue to focus in this industry and potentially, you know, in the STEM, have a career in the STEM field. So we were pretty excited about that. The camp was from 8th grade to 12th grade. So we had, you know, mostly high schoolers, but some 8th graders. And ultimately, you know, the objectives of the camp were met. You know, we impacted their lives positively. We gave them a fun and innovative education experience, and we planted the seeds to drive workforce development. Malcolm, Nudie, you guys want to touch on anything camp related before we move on?
Yeah, I just wanted to, the one thing that Steve didn't have the opportunity to speak on is that the behind the scenes of this camp, right, was giving these kids an opportunity to create income for themselves through gaming, right? So Steve spoke about earlier as us being the Twitch affiliates, right? Any of you guys know that there are real people out here making real money off of video games and the internet, right? So if the real nugget was being able to teach these kids not only about entrepreneurship, about financial literacy training and how to create content, but it's just being able to teach these kids a skill that they can monetize, right? And that actually is one of the main elements of our workforce development program, which is through our Futures First program. If we are in a position, which we are now, especially with our STEM accreditation in our actual program, where we can actually help these kids if they hustle enough and if they go hard enough. And I'm not saying we never say like, hey, this is a substitute for school, right? But if these kids can make an extra $250 a month from streaming their game, an extra $500 a month from streaming their game, that could drastically change their situation, especially if they're in a situation where it's not conducive to them, you know, getting good schooling, or, you know, it's just a lot of trauma in these neighborhoods, right? So if, you know, behind that, graduating those kids from the teen warehouse is just something bigger, where we're giving these kids the opportunity to create income for themselves and for their family.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, kind of when we engage with the students and participants, every student that we engage with, our goal first is to get to know who they are. And really, we kind of start with 4 core questions. You know, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your favorite video game? And what's your dream job? And the reason why is because we know that there are a tremendous amount of career paths tied to esports and gaming. This kind of sets the foundation, and the next slide I'll show you really kind of expands on that. But as a player or a gamer, you can be one of sort of 4 core areas: content creators, entrepreneurs, organizers, and strategists. And what we mean by that is content creator, obviously streamers, journalists, shoutcasters, which are basically, if you look at an NFL or an NBA broadcast and you have your broadcast booth with your play-by-play guys, you have the same exact things in esports. There are play-by-play guys that are streaming live broadcasts of events that actually go on. Entrepreneurs, obviously, we as a 100% owned, Black-owned esports company really have an opportunity to show these kids what's possible from the standpoint of becoming entrepreneurs, because we look like them. We represent some of their where they come from and their interests and needs, but just in general, there are opportunities to become marketers in the space. So we really find out what they're interested in and kind of point them in that direction. Event organizers, there are events that have sold out, esports events that have sold out venues like the Staples Center in 12 minutes. But you need somebody in the back end to really work on, the event planning and making sure that all of the participants have a great experience, whether they're the players or the attendees. And so, IT support, is an integral part of that. And then strategists, esports teams have coaches. Esports teams they do scouting against other teams. So they need analysts, and it's really a matter of kind of where you want to be. But that's just kind of a basic. This is the one that really makes people think, right? And really raises eyebrows that this is an ever expanding web of career path opportunity that is tied back to esports. I'll give one such maybe a couple of examples. We ask a student, what would you like to be? And they say, I'd like to be an attorney. But I love playing video games. And we can say, well, here's an example of how you could be an attorney and still be in the space. A gentleman by the name of Kyle Giersdorf, his gamer tag is Booga. He won the Fortnite World Cup championship in 19, I believe it was, and he won $3 million. Well, now he's going to need an attorney. He's going to need an accountant. He's going to need a financial manager. There are companies that are now want him to endorse them. So he needs people to manage his paperwork. And so that's one example. Another example, a lot of esports artists, esports competitors are in the chair competing for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time. So they got to have the mental stamina, the physical stamina to make sure that their reflexes are on point 24/7, because that could be the difference between taking home 6 figures and no figure. And so there are physical trainers, there are physical therapists, wellness and mental coaches, nutritionists, dietitians, you name it. There's a way that we can point back to an esports tie. But really where we play at our core is kind of in the digital space, and then in sort of the media space and technology. And so kind of down in this area, business, digital, IT is kind of our sweet spot. But again, we expose them to as many career path opportunities as we can. And we have a number of partnerships that we can leverage to engage to point them in the right direction. So, just to recap, our program outcomes are kind of the workforce development, continue to grow the esports community, become a talent pipeline, and enhance community and family by, really bringing that gaming community together and teaching these kids there are other ways to potentially earn a living. So really one thing that I know we were asked to talk about was our Pandemonium 2020 event. This was an event that we were really, really excited to produce. It was kind of a culmination of a big year for us. And I'm going to let Malcolm and Nudie kind of talk about it high level before we get into some some examples of what the event was all about.
So Pandemonium was a 15-hour stream, Steve. 15 hours. Man, and I was actually boy, was I under the weather. But that's okay. We toughed it through.
Yes, we did.
We definitely toughed it through. Pandemonium was a culmination of everything that we had worked on, literally for the year 2020, us being in that COVID happening literally was the catalyst for us to really elevate our company. For some people, COVID, it wasn't so good, but it just so happens for us, COVID did what it did. But Pandemonium was 6 gaming tournaments in a 2-day span, 3 panels where we spoke about esports as a profession, how to curb teen violence using esports, and which one am I missing, Steve?
Workforce dev
through esports. So it was literally as we said, it was a 15-hour stream. We streamed for maybe about 9 hours on Saturday and maybe like 5.5 on Sunday.
Yep.
And literally we had some of the best and brightest when it came to esports, mental health, workforce development, the nonprofit sector. You also had us. We had a coach from Southern University. We had Hip Hop Gamer, which is the representative for Hot 97, Logitech, and a couple of other companies where he has such a huge reach. We had Daryl Chambers, who is a PhD. No, he's actually Dr. Daryl Chambers.
Doctor, yeah.
He has his PhD in criminal justice, whereas he really broke down why this esports could really be essential to teen violence. We just had a bunch of, but we also had a $2,000 pot where we were able to give the winners of each tournament, some type of actual cash prize. Not only were we able to give these kids, not just kids, it was anybody could compete. But not only were we able to give these people a cash prize, we were actually in a position to actually monetize. This where people actually paid to get into our tournament. And if you look at this particular slide, you see Discover Bank and you see Delaware Prosperity Partnership. We actually, based off of the amount of views and the impressions that we have and the ad revenue that is generated through gaming, we were able to get sponsorships, right? So this was just a huge event for us, a huge undertaking. And it actually pushed us to another level where we were actually able to do a whole production. Yeah, we did a whole production from our house. We also had partners as well. So as we were doing the production in Delaware, we had partners that were in DC, RSN Esports, that were actually a part of the productions as well. So it literally was a team effort. It was definitely a team effort. But the main thing is that us being in a position to put this level of production on from our house is incredible. It's incredible. And we're teaching kids to do this level of production through our program.
Exactly. New, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, so and I think for me too is when you look at the level of production. I remember us going to University of Delaware when they launched their gaming facility, and I remember telling Steven, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like for us to be kind of on par with a lot of these bigger, we're a smaller company from Delaware and we look just like the majors. So that goes to show as kids, from the inner cities and small places, when they're looking at our production, it just gives them hope and they know that they too can do. It doesn't matter where you're from, your ethnicity, your age, your religion, like you can really do anything that you put your mind to. And this actually shows us being from a small company, like we're actually playing with the big boys and we look like we belong in this arena.
Yeah, like you can literally, our production was literally comparison. And like you're seeing some of these people that are in our panel, like we have Logan Heron. Logan Heron is the CEO of Reach Riverside, where they actually are literally building a $250 million housing facility over in the Riverside area of Delaware. We have Marquivas Gideon, who was the CEO and founder of Nerd It Now, where they donated thousands of computers to the community. We have Tariq Hook here, who's a part of Code Differently. He's the CIO of Code Differently. Keisha Walker, who is, what's her title, Steve?
She's the executive director of the Black Collegiate Gamers Association.
Right. So, you know, we're just being connected with so many people, whereas like, in particular with Keisha Walker, through our Futures First programming and through Pandemonium, we'll be in a position to connect and build a pipeline with all these a bunch of HBCUs across the nation, along with a bunch of high schools across the nation. So just being able to show this level of production and to be able to connect the dots with this level of production is an amazing thing.
Yep. So also, in addition to the gaming and the panels, we had really intermissions where we showed video snippets of key information around the industry, right? So Malcolm did like a 4-minute video on microtransactions. So we really use this almost as a way to be on like a virtual conference slash, you know, gaming tournament. We were originally scheduled to be in person for this at Theater N in Wilmington. But again, with COVID and sort of some of our sponsors, you know, were a little bit leery about an in-person event. So we said, you know what, we can do it online. We've been able to host several tournaments throughout the year online. This was a whole different level of production than what we had done previously, but we had been doing it in small pieces throughout the year. And so we wound up just putting it all together to have Pandemonium. Also, what we're excited about is we had some artists, and we had hip hop artists, actually some of their videos, which were streaming throughout the event. So, you know, it was a combination of gaming, education, information. We had comedians, we had hip hop artists, and we really pulled it all together. And that's why we kind of called it Pandemonium, because it's a play on our logo, but it was also just a crazy, crazy dope event. And so we were really excited to pull that off. And so what that actually has helped us do and has led to, and kind of what's on the horizon for us, is a lot. You guys want to run through some of this stuff? I've talked quite a bit, so I'll let you guys kind of go through what we have coming down the pike.
Yeah. So first and foremost, which is probably actually I'm looking at it, we probably should have put the one thing on top of the other, but it's all good. So we have our FFGL, our Futures First Gaming, was FFGEL, in terms of the acronym, but FFGL, which is our Futures First Gaming League, it'll be starting next month, and we will have several games, whereas we've already gotten a few sponsorships for kids and teams to be a part of our inaugural esports league in conjunction with RSN Sports down in the DC area. So we'll be playing Rocket League, Call of Duty, Super Smash Brothers, Fortnite, NBA 2K, and Madden. So you know, when you talk about gaming leagues just across the board, Steve spoke earlier about League of Legends and how it sold out the Staples Center in 12 minutes. But did you give him the other stat? You didn't give him the other stat line, Steve. I don't remember you giving him the other stat line, but
viewership stat?
No. The League of Legends stat. So back in 2018, did you give him that
stat?
I
did. Yep, I did.
Okay. Yeah. Just to reiterate, when you're talking about these esports league and the viewership, right? You know, the League of Legends championship tournaments are getting more viewership than the Super Bowl, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Game 7 of the MLB. This is all combined. Like all of that combined, this League of Legends tournament was getting more viewership. And I think their pot was astronomical. It was like $20-something million for this pot for League of Legends. But League of Legends is probably the most popular game outside of Dota. League of Legends might be the most popular game in the world. But it's played on PC, which is why we have our company, is so that we could get our kids into a PC realm. Stage, science, technology, arts, gaming, in entertainment. It's entrepreneurship and entertainment. So we have a actual network coming up, and it's going to be called Stage. So Stage is going to be our actual Fire Stick channel in conjunction with RSN Esports, whereas we will be able to fill this network with all types of content that we want, focused mostly around gaming, but we'll be able to throw in all of the other elements to Stage. On our content. It's going to be a 24/7 running channel. And right now we're actually, curating the content, and we're gathering the content, and a lot of our content from the Gaming League will be featured as well. I'll let Nudie talk about the Wendell Smallwood joint.
Yeah. So Wendell Smallwood is the former Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl championship. And he's now at the Pittsburgh Steelers, but every summer he did a football camp. And due to COVID, he was unable to do a football camp. So they decided to partner up with us where we can actually do a Madden tournament online where portions of all the proceeds will go to a nonprofit of his choice. And we're really excited about that. Hopefully we'll be able to, the goal is the end of March. That's what we're looking at date wise.
Yeah, date wise. Yep.
And then also the Do More 24 charity marathon. There is a company in Delaware, a few nonprofits. One being the
Spur Impact.
Spur Impact, along with
United Way.
United Way. There we go. Drawing a blank there. So last year they did a drive for Do More 24. So it was a 24 hours of giving, and they were able to amass and raise over $400,000. So this year we're going to partner with them, and we're going to do a game-a-thon where we're going to have different nonprofits, participate and have a representative from their particular nonprofit and raise funds for gaming. So we're really excited about that, and this is something that in terms of like a lot of these charities weren't able to raise as much money this year due to COVID. So this would give them some good leverage, and we're proud to be a part of the Do More 24 charity marathon.
Yep. So right after that, and this one right here, the Workforce Development Program, this is actually Steve, this is the one I was like, oh, this one should probably be on top.
Yeah.
So our Workforce Development Program is going to be such a huge thing for the state of Delaware. We're literally training TANF eligible opportunity youth in our urban neighborhoods through our esports program. So we're going to be in a position to teach and train these kids on coding, soft skills, entrepreneurship, the financial literacy piece, just all the actual media training that you need to actually work at companies. So what we're doing in terms of the Futures First ecosystem, which is one of our big goals when we talk about the Futures Dome, right? Our big goal is to literally be training these opportunity youth, and even a little bit past that, right? But we also need to create the ecosystem whereas these companies are being attracted to any area, right? And that they are pulling PULLING from our talent pool of people that we trained up. So the Workforce Development Program is going to be such a groundbreaking thing because it's coming all through esports. So not only are we going to be in a position where we're training these kids and these opportunity youth in the technology piece, but we're still going to be playing video games with them, right? But as we play video games with these opportunity youth, we're going to be still teaching them, that them soft skills, the entrepreneurship, just showing them how to create content, right? So this Workforce Development Program is just huge for us. We're going to be able to literally segue this into our Futures Dome, where our Futures Dome is going to encompass all things workforce development, all things esports, and all things gaming. So this Workforce Development Program for us and the state of Delaware is like a huge groundbreaking thing, and we hope to really develop this workforce development piece and get it in every single state. And we want to have our Futures First program in every single school district. Why? Because screen time is going absolutely nowhere now, right? We're in the new normal, and it's going to be like this for the rest of forever. So we need to really have our kids understand, our Black and brown kids and our opportunity youth. They really need to understand technology. Why? Because we're literally meeting them head on where they're at. 83% of these kids, Black and brown kids, they play video games. So if we want to teach, curb violence, do workforce development, and a plethora of other things, we're going to literally do it through our workforce development program. Futures First Camp. Go ahead. Steve.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and one of the things too is we are looking for companies who will, be our partners in this workforce development program. We have some already who have signed on to take some of our graduates, but we're continually looking for companies that would be willing, to be a part of that workforce development program and be our partners that we can feed our students to. Some of them will come to work for us and help us build our organization, but obviously we want to continue to place them in opportunities that are going to be out there. So,
yep, 100%. And Futures First Camp, our Futures First Camp is literally a camp that we will be facilitating our Futures First program in. So Steve talked about earlier at the Teen Warehouse. They were the first, they were our pilot when it came to facilitating our Futures First Camp. And so, we will be doing our Futures First Camp from when these kids get out of school all the way up until they go back to school. And we're in a virtual space anyway. So it's just going to be optimal for them to participate in the Futures First Camp. The 21st Century After School program in New Jersey. So right now we are working with Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Kind of pains me to say that, me being an alpha, and Gary's an alpha too.
And Egg Harbor Township.
Gary said same. Pains me to say that. But it's all good though, because it's all, we all are part of the same D9 family. So the 21st Century After School program, it is literally, we're going to be working with 100 Black boys and Black girls, where we'll be literally doing our Futures First program. So it's going to be a certain amount of time when we're going to be facilitating the coding piece, and then we're also going to be really facilitating the gaming piece. And as we facilitating the gaming piece, we'll be talking about those soft skills, the mental health awareness, the financial literacy, and the entrepreneurship training. So let me cut in real quick, Mal.
The thing too is, the beauty of our program is we are trying to create a pathway from elementary to middle to high school. And so our program at the high school level is the most intense, but at the middle and elementary level, we can break it apart, pick it apart, and, give the sort of 101 or even 001 versions of entrepreneurship, and even sort of the coding piece and the web development piece, so that, obviously the elementary kids, they want to play, but we want to introduce them to the concepts. At the middle school level, they want to play, and this is kind of when they start to form their interest. And then at the high school level is when it gets the most intense.
Absolutely. So, as Steve said, we're just building the pipeline. There's where we're at. Matter of fact, I'm not even just going to limit it to Delaware, right? In this entire region, there's nobody building a pipeline like how we're building a pipeline. You have a lot of other esports companies, and no shade to anybody, but they're just literally focusing on the gaming aspect, which is fine. But when you literally are creating a whole ecosystem, then you're really making an impact on these kids that are participating in these games every single day. So that's just something amazing that we could do. This one, we just literally locked this one this week. 100 Black Men Mentorship, the same exact thing as the 21st Century After School program. We're just doing it with another organization down in Washington, D.C., and it's 100 Black Men Mentorship. So we literally just, what did we lock this one in on? Tuesday, Steve?
This week. And then a little bit earlier, we connected with Penwood Middle School out of William Penn Schools District in the Philadelphia area that wants to do something as well.
Yeah, so we are literally just really, I don't want to say running the gamut, but that's what we're doing. Like, there's a lot of school districts out here that just don't know how powerful esports and technology is, especially in a virtual environment. So the more that we press forward, the more that we're educating and making people more aware of what it is that we do and how we do it. This summer, where we at? FFG Madness in March. So we're going to be having quarterly, I guess, like semi-final type
qualifiers.
Like semi-final type qualifiers, right? So this is going to be our first one in March. FFG Madness, we're going to be having one in March, second quarter, third quarter. We'll probably have Summer Splash in the summertime, and then we'll probably have something in the fall, but it'll all be our qualifiers up. That's going to lead up to Pandemonium 2021, which will be our championships. So FFG, what games are we? We'll probably do all the games.
Yeah, it just depends on what's going to be popular toward the end of the year. But you know, we'll definitely probably repeat some of the games that we had at Panda-Monium, which were Smash Brothers, Tekken, Madden, NBA 2K, Fortnite, and Call of Duty.
We'll probably throw Rocket League in there too.
Yeah,
since we have that.
Yep.
And then this summer we'll be doing Girls Who Games, Girls Who Could Code. And then, like I said, Pandemonium 2021 will be in December.
And so, you know, if as we talked about, you know, hearing some of the information, we invite you, you know, to reach out to us. Our website is www.futuresfirstgaming.com. And obviously our email is on the screen, admin@futuresfirstgaming.com. If you're interested in bringing, you know, our programs to your organization, or if you know somebody who's a gamer and just wants to get connected with the gaming community, joining our community is absolutely free. We have a Discord channel, and you know, just reach out to us for more information. So at this time, we'll open it up to anybody who may have questions.
We talked for a whole 50 minutes, bro.
We sure did.
I have a question, and I don't know a lot about esports, so I'll be honest. But I have a daughter who's an aspiring gamer.
Nice.
So like outside of tournaments and gaming leagues, I know that there's this whole like YouTube streaming presence where people, like young kids, can make money from, you know, streaming their games on YouTube. So do you guys support any of that?
Yeah. So, as part of our curriculum in the entrepreneurship curriculum, we actually teach kids, or teach our students, several techniques. One, the overlay and the landscape of where to stream. So you've got Twitch, you've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, right? Which are kind of the key three. There used to be Mixer, but and that was Microsoft, but it's gone away. And so then we kind of show them how to do it. So what's the type of software that you should utilize? Like some of the key softwares are OBS or Streamlabs OBS. We tend to use Streamlabs OBS, and then it because it's more user friendly. Actually, my 11-year-old stepson, he streams now. Like I showed him how to do it, and now he's just an avid streamer. But then we show them the technique behind, and this is kind of Malcolm and Nudi's forte, and then we marry it all up back on the sort of the actual stream side, but the technique on how to build the brand, build the following, you know, like how to leverage your online presence to get people coming to your site. And then really, it's honestly, you just need, on Twitch, for example, 50 followers, right? And an average of 3 people watching you play for you to qualify to then start earning money. So it's really an easy sort of process. The work is really going to come into what type of streamer you are, kind of what's your personality, and then getting people to come and actually watch you. And if you already have it, a lot of these kids already have a big social media following as it is. So they just need to convert tell their friends to come on over and watch them actually play video games.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I thought somebody else raised their hand, but maybe that was you.
I was going to ask really quickly. I know that you guys do a lot of great work in Wilmington and in Delaware, just in general. So just would love to hear a little bit about like that why behind like why you do what you do, particularly in Wilmington, because again, I've seen y'all work with the kids in many different capacities. So like, why this avenue?
Mal, you want to take now? Nudie, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I got this one. Me personally, I'm just like an advocate for Black and brown kids. Like I'm just an advocate because I just understand the disparities, the oppression, and just the trauma that our kids face every single day. Whether it's a lack of access to resources, whether it's just comes from a place of lack. And I just want us to be in a position to make an impact, right? This is my big why, my overall why. I can remember there were just a lot of times in my life growing up where if I would have known about some of the opportunities that I'm in a space to tell these kids about right now, my life path maybe would have been 10 times different than what it was, right? Also, not only that, I might have been in a position to really monetize this skill that I would have developed, and maybe be in a position to have more access to resources, have more access to relationships. This is 34-year-old Malcolm talking, right? So right now, just being able to be in the hood with these kids, playing video games with them, maybe even saving their lives. Whereas when you talk about Wilmington, it's crazy in Wilmington. Like oh man, I'm trying to keep myself from cussing because I get passionate about this. It's literally in Wilmington. It's crazy in Wilmington. There's just it's just crazy in Wilmington. Not all of Wilmington is crazy. So I don't want to be like biased, right? But there are certain areas in Wilmington where it's crazy right now. So I just want to make an impact with the kids that I know are in a position to be really brought up by this. Like, and it's my black and my brown kids that's in the hood that have a lack of, and I don't want them to have a lack of anymore. So I'm using my knowledge, my expertise, my resources, my relationships to bring what I can bring into, and it's not just limited to Wilmington, right? It's any hood near you. It's any hood near you. It's just like this, right? So if we're just in a position to make an impact through something that they like to do, and that's it, and that's all.
Yeah, I think hindsight's 2020. I like growing up, I was that kid, right? Like, my mother was a single parent. She wasn't on drugs or anything like that. She did her best, but she had 3 kids and she had to constantly go to work and we had to watch ourselves. So I can only imagine what a lot of these kids are going through, that their mom and dad might be on drugs. Certain things are happening in the home and they're not eating. And I think for me, Wilmington specifically, is because I think a lot of times, Delaware being small, I think, a lot of those kids get overlooked, and you have a lot of these big banks and all these corporations that are incorporated in Delaware and in Wilmington specifically. And I don't really see them really going back into these neighborhoods or, sponsoring or putting up money for these kids. We have all this money in our backyard and these things are not happening. So our goal has always, my goal has always been, how do we bridge the gap from the corporates to the streets? And we've been advocating for that, for years. And I always said, I used to do events like, party promotion. And it was something about, Delaware reminded me of DC maybe 15 years ago. Like we're in that, like you have the tri-state, you have the DMV area, but going north to south, coming through Delaware, you have to come see us. But we have to scream loud enough and have, something for them to stop and say, hey, you know what? Delaware or Wilmington seems like a place that we can actually invest in. And we want to bring as much noise to downtown Wilmington and Delaware, period, first. And then, like Malcolm said, like we want to touch every hood, but we want to touch our hood first. And that's always been the goal now and forever. And we're going to make sure that we be the advocates to bring that home.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with both things Malcolm and Nudie said. For me personally, I'm a transplant from Jersey. Malcolm and I are actually from the same hometown in Jersey, which is, is not that different from what we see in Wilmington, save for the fact that, Wilmington's got taller buildings and a lot more people. But at the end of the day, Wilmington got a bad rap, like especially, a few years ago with that whole, Murder Town thing. And I understand it, but it's not fair. And it's not fair because, there's lack of opportunity. And we through this, we saw a void and we're trying to fill it, because for me personally, my goal is to make my community better, leave it better than when I came into it. And this is an opportunity to do that. And it's a way to engage the kids and put a smile on their face, but teach them something at the same time. A really good friend of mine, Dr. Stephen Peters, wrote a book. He's an education literacy educator. He wrote a book entitled, "Do You Know Enough About Me to Teach Me?" And that's the problem that we tend to encounter, especially in education, is that far too often the teachers don't know enough about the students to break down the barriers to allow them to teach them something. And gaming is an easy way to do it, because when you play a game with somebody, whether it's you beat them or they beat you, there's a smile on their face or there's an emotion, the endorphins are released, and now you can teach them something that's going to benefit them in the long run. So that's why I do it.
Mic drop. Mic drop. Thank you all. I mean, that was powerful. I knew that was the answer, but definitely wanted y'all to share it with others. So appreciate it.
Appreciate it. No, we appreciate you having us. We had a great time. And
for sure.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, that's right. Future First Gaming coming to a hood near you. You know the vibe.
You guys are awesome. I love your energy and your rapport and the way you guys connect with one another. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight and presenting.
Thank you. Yeah,
thanks
these,
for having us.
These are my guys, man.
Home team.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't like Nudie, but I keep hanging with him though.
Yeah. Malcolm. Yeah, Malcolm. I walked the edge with Malcolm, but he's cool, so I stick around a little bit.
All right, me and Nudo got a new rivalry going. So as soon as you can get back on the sticks, Nudo, I'm ready for you.
Man, listen. So real quick, like I'm the guy that they brung in. Like, so I played a lot of games when I was younger. But I'm a people's person. I just like to be around people and engage. So when we decided to start the company, they always picking on me because I'm not as versed as they are. They're like super gamers, right? So now finally I got a game that I can beat them up on, and it's NBA 2K. And Malcolm won't even get on the stick. Steven has been the only one to challenge, and I am winning, and I'm loving it. This is great. It feels good, Steve.
Listen, don't get used to that.
Look, don't get used to it. You saw what happened 2 games ago.
Hey, but did you win?
I did. That's why he was like, play again. Then you beat me.
You got one. You did get
See?
You got one. Man,
all right, man. No, thank you all again for having us. We appreciate it.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you guys. This was great.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. And have a great rest of your evening. See you at another Venture Cafe sometime soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Right, thanks, Gary. We appreciate it.